Today's project is a special request from Kevin, one of our sewing technicians. He asked if I could make a tote bag to hold his Magic the Gathering cards, and at first, it sounded simple enough. But then he said he wanted 2 side zippers for easy access to the boxes and lots of structure to protect the cards and the boxes from combat damage, which made things more interesting. So I set out to design a heavy-duty side zip tote bag, which would be great for these cards, but also good for a beach bag, picnic bag, or whatever else you need a heavy-duty tote for. The side zips will make fishing things out of the bottom much easier. So enough talking about it, let's start making it. Kevin requested black and gray colors, so I'm using black Eversoft vinyl, gray Cordura fabric, and black webbing. And while I'm cutting out the pattern pieces, I'll explain how I made this pattern with the side zippers in mind. To fit his boxes, my final dimensions for the bag need to be 18 inches wide, 10 inches deep, and 15 inches tall. If this were a standard pattern, it would look like this. But since the sides are zippers instead of standard seams, a typical tote pattern won't work. I had to reduce the width of the pattern to account for the zipper width and whatever seam allowance was built into the pattern. So I subtracted 1/4 inch on each side for seam allowance, and then another 1/2 inch for the zipper. That brings the total reduction to 1.5 inches since each side loses 3/4 of an inch. And with that simple formula, now you can zipperify any tote bag pattern. This one-piece shape will be made from boat blanket and serve as the liner. This material was perfect for this project. It provides the structure Kevin wanted, and it doesn't need to be hemmed, which simplifies construction. The outer shell is made up of 3 panels, 2 Cordura and 1 vinyl. The measurements for all of these are in the plans. I started with the lining and attached the zipper chain to all 4 sides using basting tape. I placed the chain on the wrong side of the fabric, making sure to keep the spacing even between the fabric and the zipper teeth. Then I went over to my Ultra Feed to sew the zipper in place. The next assembly to work on was the Cordura panels. I used my clear ruler as a square and basted the handles down 6 inches apart. Basting tape doesn't stick super well to Cordura, but it's strong enough to get the job done. Still better than pins anyways, at least in my opinion. When sewing, I moved the needle to the right position and used the edge of the center foot as a guide to stitch 1/8 inch from the edge of the webbing. This is our 1.5 inch heavy-duty polypropylene webbing. I like to use this or our heavy-duty cotton webbing for bag straps. I just prefer the look of thicker webbing, plus these will never tear unless you're carrying over 2,100 pounds of gear in your tote. Which, props to you if you can do that. With both handles sewn, the last step on these panels, for now, was a 3/8 inch hem on each side. I marked a line 3/4 inch from the edge and folded the fabric over to that line. Over on the Eversoft vinyl panel, I prepped it by folding 2 more 3/8 inch hems on the top and bottom. Then added a bit of reinforcement to the bag floor. This is 10-ounce Dacron sailcloth. It's pretty stiff, but won't add much bulk because it's also pretty thin. You can sew through it, but I decided to glue it on, and I do that a little bit later. Finally, on this piece, I painted parts of the edges because there's a small 2 to 3 inch section on the bag where the edge of the vinyl will be exposed. I didn't bother adding a hem there since it shuts a small area, and I don't think the extra bulk was worth it. But this paint will hide it nicely. With all the individual pieces prepped, I could start assembling the bag. I sewed the vinyl to the Cordura with a 1/2 inch overlap. Once that was done on both sides, I joined the shell and the liner together. I centered the 2 assemblies and used clips to hold everything in place as I sewed all 4 side seams. The boat blanket material is pretty thick, but it actually sews really well, especially on the Ultra Feed. I basted and clipped a 1/2 inch double hem on the top of the bag and sewed that as straight as I could using the magnetic edge guide. With large, cumbersome assemblies like this, I really rely on that edge guide to keep my stitches straight since I'm really focused on managing the material and making sure nothing snags. Since the cards are heavy, I wanted to add some reinforcement to the 4 handles, so I put the machine in zigzag mode and added bar tacks to all 4 handles. With the 2 assemblies married together, I cut out the gusset shape from the vinyl, using the liner as a template. Then it was zipper time. I'm using a number 10 molded tooth zipper by Zip. Kevin really liked the chunky look of the molded teeth. We even considered using the biggest zipper we have just for fun, but ended up tucking ourselves out of it. Once I got the slider on and made sure both sides were aligned, I installed the top stops using our zipper stop pliers. The bottom doesn't need stops since it'll be sewn closed. To sew the gusset, I turned the bag inside out and clipped the seam in place. I sewed the whole thing before realizing I'd run out of bobbin thread.
Oh.
Rookie mistake. Then I goofed again by sewing without dropping my presser foot. But this time, in my defense, the material did look pretty thick and fluffy, so it looked like the foot was down.
Oh, I got a rat's nest because I forgot to put the presser foot down because the material was so bulky that it looked like it was down when it wasn't.
Once I was done playing the how not to sew game, I finished this seam, taking extra care when sewing over the large molded zipper teeth. I've damaged some needles sewing over these before, so I always hand turn through those areas now. The bag was basically done at this point, but I wasn't a fan of the exposed seam right here, so I decided to add some binding. This is 2-inch grosgrain webbing, my go-to binding for thick assemblies. It's a single layer, unlike standard binding tape, and it's very thin, so it doesn't add bulk. I held it in place with clips and sewed it down. Besides giving the bag a more finished look, the second line of stitching helps reinforce the gusset, so it's a win-win. After binding both sides, I turned the bag right side out and finally got to see how everything looked.
Bazinga!
This is a handle wrap. It's optional for this project, but if you want to know how to make one, I'll have a video linked in the description. I had a lot of fun making this project, and I hope you enjoyed watching it as well. All the tools and materials are in the description, as well as the free plans if you want to make something like this for yourself. So I'm going to go give this to Kevin, who's the owner of all these cards, and see if he likes it. I definitely think it'll be a convenient and easy way to store all of his valuable cards, like his Black Lotus. Hey, did anybody see the Black Lotus?